Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Anna Manuel. Voters turned out to cast their ballots on this election day in the Southern Tier. Big Fox's Maggie Hall runs down the races in our area's congressional district.
Good evening, Big Fox. My name is Maggie Hall. I'm outside of Emmanuel Lutheran Church, one of the many poll locations that were open today for the special election. Now, New York 23 is not used to voting during this time in August, so let's talk about the elections that happened today and the races leading up to them. One of today's elections, a special election in the current New York 23rd Congressional District. Every registered voter in the district had the chance to vote on who should serve out the rest of former Congressman Reed's term. Reed left office in May after sexual misconduct allegations. He now works in the private sector for a public relations firm. Joe Zeppelinsky and Max Deliapia were the two names on the special election ballot. Zeppelinsky is the current Steuben County Republican chairman and Reed's former campaign manager and district director. Deliapia is the current chairman of the Tioga County Democratic Committee. He is a decorated veteran of the United States Air Force and a retired attorney. The winner of this special election will serve out the remaining 5 months of Reed's term in Congress. Along with the special election, there was also a Republican primary race. If you are a Republican, you received a second ballot today to decide who will run against the Democratic Committee nominee, Max Deliapia, for the newly drawn 23rd Congressional District. That newly drawn 23rd Congressional District includes Chautauqua, Chemung, Steuben, Schuyler, Allegheny, and Erie counties. The two candidates vying for this nomination are businessman Carl Palladino and State Republican Party Chairman Nick Langworthy. The winner of today's Republican primary will be the GOP's nominee for the 23rd Congressional District in the general election on November 8th. Big Fox News will have a complete wrap-up of all the official election results tomorrow. Maggie Hall, Big Fox News, Southern Tier.
The first juvenile case of monkeypox in New York has been identified by the State Department of Health. The patient is located outside of New York City. Over 90% of the state's roughly 3,000 confirmed monkeypox cases have been in New York City. The state health department is continuing to advise people to get vaccinated for the disease. New York State has announced that it will be aligning itself with CDC guidelines regarding COVID. This announcement comes with the start of the school year very close. Many of the rules have been changed with kids going back to school. These changes include no quarantining due to exposure, and COVID tests to stay in school are no longer required.
But the big news is no more quarantining, no more test to stay, and the days of sending an entire classroom home because one person was symptomatic or test positive, those days are over. We've been through that experiment. No longer going to be sending kids home, keeping them away from that essential experience of being together in a classroom, because we are now still dealing with the fallout of those decisions made when we had less information and there was concern in classrooms, but we now have 2 years of experience to know that children are safe in classrooms.
Flu shots are now available at Wegmans pharmacies. All locations will offer vaccines for kids, seniors, and adults. Flu shots are recommended by the CDC for everyone 6 months and older. New York's Speed Awareness Week resulted in over 2,000 Southern Tier drivers being ticketed. The Speed Awareness campaign aimed to combat speeding and distracted driving. According to the New York State Police, around 1,500 Southern Tier drivers received speeding tickets. More than 25,000 drivers across all of New York State were ticketed during the campaign. The city of Elmira has received the other half of the American Rescue Plan money. So how are they planning to spend it? Big Fox's Josh Feldberg was at City Hall to hear the mayor's proposal.
The American Rescue Plan is an economic stimulus bill that was passed to help speed up the country's recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. Elmira was awarded $28 million. $14 million was given to the city in 2021, and the remaining $14 million was given to the city this year. Today, Mayor Mandel announced the city's plan for allocating the funds pending a city council vote.
So this is going to be the release of our second part of our plan. The first part of our plan went very well. We sat through many meetings to come up with this plan, and we're sure that it's going to cover a lot of things that are needed throughout our city.
The city has already allocated some of the funds. A combined $1.5 million will be going towards repairs at First Arena and Mark Twain Golf Course. Another $1 million was allocated towards administrative costs associated with the plan and staffing 2 additional Elmira police officers. The biggest allocation is about $6.5 million going towards building city projects. This allows the city to build these projects without needing taxpayer money. So will any of this money go directly towards helping the people of Elmira? Well, around $1.5 million is being allocated for businesses and nonprofits to apply for grants related to tourism projects and business rehabilitation.
And this will be voted on this Monday, August 29th, and applications will be available on the city's website as of Tuesday, August 30th, 2022, pending Monday's vote.
I'm outside City Hall in Elmira. Mayor Mandel said that the spending plan will not allocate money to the homeless or fighting drug abuse, as those issues are receiving attention from other sources.
Josh Feldberg, Big Fox News, Elmira.
A market sell-off Monday prompted new concerns about the state of the economy and whether inflation will remain persistent. The Biden administration is also expected to make a decision by the end of this month and perhaps as soon as tomorrow regarding student loans. That could mean the pandemic payment pause will be extended or a certain amount of debt will be forgiven for millions of Americans. Lauren Blanchard reports from Washington.
Monday was a rocky start for the stock market, the worst day since June as investors began what will be a big economic week. At the opening bell Tuesday, the market little changed from the day before. Friday, not only will the latest economic data show us where inflation stands, the Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell will likely give an idea of whether more interest rate hikes are coming.
There's a lot of headwinds and a lot of warning signs. But when we look at the inflation components, they are coming down.
And just a week away, student loan payments will restart after a more than 2-year pause during the pandemic. Advocates of loan forgiveness say restarting payments on top of record high inflation will cripple some families. Progressives are pushing to cancel all student debt. Representative Pramila Jayapal tweeting 50% of parents with student loan debt said that if payments restart, they won't be able to meet their family's basic financial needs. The White House is weighing forgiving $10,000 for many borrowers. However, critics say it's not fair to those who worked to pay off their loans or chose not to attend a 4-year college, and say the problem is skyrocketing education costs.
If you gave every kid in America $1,000 to go toward their next semester of college, the price of college goes up $1,000.
Senator Rick Scott introduced his College Act, which would put universities on the hook for unaffordable tuition and for failing to prepare students for jobs that could pay off their loans. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Your full forecast is next. Plus, we'll take one last look back at the incredible race weekend at Watkins Glen. Stay with us.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Well, it has been a rainy weather period as we stepped into this last full week of August. Now, looking at some rainfall totals from a community site called Coco Ross that I pulled these from, anywhere from about 1 inch of rainfall to up to 2 inches since August 21st through early morning hours of the 23rd have been brought in. Now, Elmira, when I found on the site, was just around 1 inch from some of the observations. But as we look at the local National Weather Service numbers, we are seeing that we are bringing in upwards of 2 inches of rainfall seen over the last 5 days. Now, that does include a few hundredths of an inch last Thursday and a few hundredths of an inch on Saturday. But either way, our 2 big rainy days did come on Sunday and Monday, and we've continued to watch some showers and thunderstorms even today. So we still have more to add to that 2 inches. So good dosing of rainfall that we've received. But there is some good news when it comes into the next few days. As we've noted with some of those showers and thunderstorms moving on through into the afternoon, you can see the drying that is going to continue to occur here off of the Great Lakes as we step into the evening hours. But there is still moisture that's intact. So note that through our overnight forecast, you may work out of the showers in some clear skies, but it is going to be foggy. There's this very rich atmosphere, especially with those saturated soils, more than 2 inches of rainfall, and then that calmer evening is going to allow for that fog to develop. So note that reduced visibility will be in place for your morning commute. Headlights on, no high beams. That actually makes it more difficult to see, and give yourself a few extra minutes to get out the door. Now, brighter skies with some warming temperatures will be in store as we head into our Wednesday and Thursday forecast. Now, there will be a weak cold front dropping its way out of the Great Lakes as we head into about Thursday evening through Friday. So a few showers are noted off of it, but overall, when we're tracking the system overall, it doesn't look very abundant. Nothing going to compare to what we've been experiencing overall. But it is going to shake up the temperatures again, allow for some slight cooling into our Friday and Saturday, but then we should see some warming into early next week, which is going to allow for the region to maybe even see a few 90s return into that 7-day forecast. But what we'll expect here for our Wednesday, we have a little bit of that morning fog, should be able to lift by about 10 a.m. That allows for those temperatures to start to climb. Now, we're not looking at significant warming, but at least those lower 80s under some bright sunshine will definitely be well welcomed. There could be a stray shower or two into the afternoon. You might see a little bit of more of those big puffy clouds that look a little bit heavier. There might be a sprinkle or two, but for the most part, we're going to keep brighter skies here in store. Anywhere from those upper 70s to those lower 80s seem to be here, our common number for our Wednesday forecast. Then by Thursday, as we continue to stay under those bright skies, temperatures warm up. We even flirt with those 90s here in Elmira and Corning with a high of about 87 degrees. Now, extended forecast does bring in that, again, small chance for some showers and thunderstorms on Friday. We fall back into those lower 80s, still very comfortable, but we are going to see some returning warmth. There could be some humidity with that, but then it looks like another system will bring us some showers and thunderstorms as we head into early next work week.
Big Fox News was on site for all the NASCAR action this past weekend at Watkins Glen International Speedway. Our Maggie Hall gives us a peek at what it takes to make each race day a successful one.
Walk with me through pit road. Pit crews work hard to make sure their teams are ready for the race. I'm here standing on the track at Watkins Glen Raceway. The race is going to start pretty soon, folks, and we have all the coverage you need here on Big Fox. The grandstands are starting to fill as race fans wander the track. Fans even have the chance to sign their names right next to Victory Lane. A love for racing started early in these young fans. One fan even wore a complete Chase Elliott uniform to show his support. Enthusiasm is running high as fans gear up for the race to start. Despite the threatening gray storm clouds, these race fans are here for it all. After a delay due to lightning, the race was back on. In the Riseback grandstands, fans wave their hats and cheer on their favorite racers as they roll through this turn. The cars can be seen from pit lane flying past at speeds as high as 96 miles per hour. Kyle Larson won the race here at Watkins Glen International Speedway for his second year in a row. We spoke to Kyle after the race and asked him what emotions were going through his mind.
I'm happy. Yeah, I mean, it's a little darker than normal here at Watkins Glen, San Victory Lane, but yeah, I haven't won, but one other time this year in the Cup Series, so it's definitely nice to get a win. Late into the regular season, like I said, going into the playoffs. So yeah, just try to ride the momentum and hopefully get some more.
Thanks for joining Big Fox for a weekend at Watkins. Maggie Hall, Big Fox News, Watkins Glen.
Some Americans continue to tip big despite the impacts of inflation. The company Toast pulling together data on restaurant sales, showing the average same-store tip is around 10% compared to last year, despite rising inflation across the country. In-person diners dishing out an average tip of 19.7%, while those who ordered delivery or takeout tipped an average of 14.5%. Across the country, the biggest tippers can be found in Indiana, tipping a generous 21%. That's followed by West Virginia, Ohio, Delaware, and Kentucky. The worst tippers, diners in California, tipping an average of 17.5%. That's followed by Washington, Florida, New York, Hawaii, Texas, and Nevada. Inflation is impacting people's decision to purchase a new smartphone. Overall, worldwide smartphone shipments dropped nearly 9% in the second quarter of this year compared to last year. That's according to research firm International Data Corps. However, sales of smartphones that cost more than $900 are up 20% in the first half of this year compared to the same time period last year. That according to a research firm. Meanwhile, many large mobile carriers say they're seeing more customers default on their payments as inflation hits people's wallets. The cleanup is just beginning for the Dallas area after floods swept through the city, and the area is expecting more rainfall this week. Lillian Wu has more.
I have never seen it flood like this.
People across the Dallas area are sweeping out water and mud from their homes after torrential rains hit the city on Monday. The National Weather Service says more than 9 inches fell in 24 hours. That's normally about a summer's worth of rain for the city, the floods catching many off guard.
Like, oh, I'm going to pull up, try to help. And I thought it was like a tiny flood. And I pulled up and it was like knee deep. And we're just like pulling the water out the house.
A Dallas County judge declared a disaster and requested state and federal assistance for those whose homes suffered significant damage. Some residents say it'll be a long road for them to rebuild.
And of course, I have roofing problems, and even my ceiling in 2 bedrooms is falling down, it's sad. It's difficult.
The flooding left at least one person dead, a 60-year-old woman who was killed when the water swept her car off of a bridge. Dozens of other people were rescued. Dallas authorities say they received hundreds of calls for help as the flooding rushed into homes and onto highways.
When you can't walk very far like I can, it's really scary. I can only walk about 30 yards at a time.
Further west, heavy rain also hit Arizona. Evacuation orders were put into place after storms caused a river to overflow, submerging the small town of Duncan. Heavy rain will continue to threaten the south on Tuesday, putting some 9 million people under flood watches. Lillian Wu, Fox News.
Flight disruptions continue across the U.S. Homeowners are slashing prices, and a group of Apple employees is pushing back against the tech giant's return to the office plans. CJ Papa has those stories and more in today's Fox Business Briefs.
Summer travel chaos continues. More than 9,000 flights delayed or canceled on Monday. Staffing shortages are mostly to blame for the disruptions, along with bad weather. This as British Airways announces it's cutting more than 10,000 flights to comply with an extension of London Heathrow Airport's cap on departing passengers. Homeowners looking to sell their homes during the pandemic are now forced to slash prices due to dwindling demand. According to Redfin data, 21% of home sellers dropped their asking prices in July, the highest share since 2012. Homeowners have reportedly priced too high after seeing neighbors sell for a larger amount months in advance. Employees at Apple launching a petition as the tech giant announces its return to office. The new petition says, in part, a recent order for many workers to return to the office at least 3 days a week early next month could negatively affect their well-being. CEO Tim Cook reportedly issuing a memo to his San Francisco employees demanding they must report to the office starting September 5th. And the latest date night trend, renting a U-Haul. One TikTok user says the big box and pickup trucks offered by U-Haul help save money. Another couple says they decided to rent a U-Haul since they were under the age of 25, which is California's required age to rent a car without extra fees. That's business. I'm CJ Papa.
Hey, listen, it is definitely a grand slam, a new type of sports bar exclusively, get this, playing women's sports. Jackie Ibanez has the scoop.
She shoots, she scores. In just a short span of time, Jenny Nguyen is transforming the landscape of the traditional sports bar with the opening of the Sports Bra in Portland, Oregon, a bar dedicated to only playing women's sports. The idea came a few years ago after Nguyen and some friends had a hard time trying to watch a women's basketball game at a standard sports bar.
I think that there's this universal feeling that women have when they go to sports bars. I mean, it goes anywhere between uncomfortable to unsafe.
So she created her own.
It's just so amazing to have a place that actually prioritizes women's professional sport the way it should be.
And now her bar is shining a spotlight on so many underrepresented teams. According to the University of Minnesota's Tucker Center for Research on Girls and Women in Sport, women only receive about 4% of all sports media coverage.
I think that having a space like the Sports Bra show that it can be successful is inspiring to other businesses to be like, okay, there is a market for this, because it is scary.
But as the Sports Bra helps lay the groundwork for similar bars like Rough and Tumble, expected to open in Seattle in the near future, Wynn says the main challenge facing this industry is finding enough televised women's games to show. But that could be changing as some women's games are seeing a bump in viewership. According to ESPN, this year's women's NCAA title game was the most watched women's championship event in almost 20 years. Jackie Ibanez, Fox News.
We'll be right back after this. And we want to leave you with a smile tonight. A new study says random acts of kindness actually can have more of a positive impact than people think. Researchers from the University of Texas conducted a series of tests having people perform a good deed, like helping someone with a tough task or paying for a meal for someone they didn't know. The analysts then had the people performing and receiving the good deed rate their moods afterwards. The researchers found people who performed an act of kindness often underrated the significance of what they did. The researchers also say people who are not the recipient of a good deed often will pay it forward and perform an act of kindness for others in the future. Listen, everybody, I'm Harriet Wallace, and I thank you so much for watching.